My sister secretly pretended to like my boyfriend to gather evidence that he's a bad person and went through all of my text messages with him to prove I am being abused, and she and the rest of my family ganged up on me to force me to break up with the love of my life, but in reality, they're just racist and now I hate them all. Posted by you/I1 Topbreak. This has been sitting in my drafts for 6 months now. I, 25F, met my partner, 29M, in 2020 while I was finishing my undergrad studies, and we were both in the same field. Our first conversations were deep, about our personal philosophies, culture, faith, and our views on the world, and we quickly realized that our values aligned so well. He's funny, attentive, smart, talented, and ambitious, and I was so in love, I still am. We made it official 2 months in. Low-key, we both knew we wanted to marry each other already, but of course we didn't rush as we were still finishing up school. We have the same religious background but not the same ethnicity. For this reason, both of us were nervous to tell our parents about our relationship because we didn't know how they'd react. Most ethnic parents would want their kids to keep it within the culture, but from what I know, they may be stubborn at first, but will come around eventually. Right? For me, ethnicity is a non-issue. We're both religious, so having the same faith is more important in my opinion. I thought my parents would think the same. Because if they're so religious too, then they shouldn't place their cultural values over their faith. Anyway, my partner didn't wait too long to tell his parents. They and his siblings were very supportive and welcomed me with open arms. I, on the other hand, hesitated for the longest time because I really had no idea how my parents would react. I'm a bit fearful of them. Honestly, my relationship with my parents isn't that close. Of course they're caring and all, but not in an emotional way where I can come up to them and be vulnerable about something. Definitely not my dad. This is where I'm at fault, because even if it was hard for me to be honest with them, I should have just done so instead of hiding my relationship from them. My siblings knew before my parents. They didn't care, but my sister, 29F, on the other hand, being the eldest, aka the third parent, was too panicked about it and advised me to just end the relationship because an interracial marriage is going to be complicated. But that's not the advice I needed, and I didn't want to just end the relationship either. I truly believe he's my soulmate. Her entire attitude towards it was kinda just, I gave you my 2 cents, I don't want to be involved in this mess. I think it was a year into our relationship when my mom found a birthday card from my partner in my room. She found my stash of greeting cards from him and read them all. She confronted me with them, and she wasn't even mad, but when I told her about his ethnicity, she freaked out. She made me tell my dad, and he just LOL'd in my face and didn't even let me talk. It took a couple of days for my mom to calm down because honestly, she really was overreacting. The conclusion was, they ain't happy with the relationship and wanted me to end it. I didn't want to, of course. It was swept under the rug, and for the next 3 years, my partner and I continued our relationship and even went on some trips together, but my parents were in the dark about the specifics of it all. Of course, the dishonesty was very wrong, but in my mind, they didn't create a safe space for me to be honest with them. I couldn't just tell them, oh hey, I'm going out for dinner and he's going to be there, bye, love you, XO. The conversation about us would only be brought up occasionally in those 3 years, because at this point, he and I were ready to get engaged, and we just needed my dad's blessing. It would always end in an argument, feelings hurt, and no blessings given. They refused to even meet him. I'm still being patient and holding out hope that my dad will come around or something. By mid-2024, my dad hadn't properly spoken to me in about 2 years, but my mom, on the other hand, is a lot more understanding. I wouldn't say she's supportive, but understanding at least. In her words, she just wants to help me avoid an unsuccessful marriage because in her mind, interracial marriages just don't work, but if I'm so sure about him, then she will be by my side, and if it fails, she'll be there with open arms. My parents are traditional, but she's always been the more level-headed one between them, besides that freak out the first time. Now the catastrophe. At the end of 2024, my sister suddenly stepped in and asked to meet my partner. She's my dad's favorite, and if there's one person who could sway his thoughts, it would be her. So, this opportunity excited me and my partner because it finally felt like there's light at the end of this tunnel. We had been patient, but the stress of all this was starting to put a strain on our relationship, especially in the last 2 years. But we loved each other a lot and didn't want to let go no matter what, and we would always work things out with communication. My sister and he met up and talked for hours. I wasn't there, but it went well, and he left a good impression on her. She said she talked to my dad. Side note, he and I discussed beforehand that we didn't need to disclose how many times we saw each other or what trips he was involved in. We knew the dishonesty and hiding were wrong, but we felt like we were entitled to that privacy at the very least. He's the type that loves honesty and just says, screw what people think, but I just didn't believe honesty works with my parents, especially my dad, because he's someone who's very critical and will shame you for your different values, beliefs, or whatever. Now, I thought things would be dandy from here on, but my sister was acting weird and distant. When I would ask her what's wrong, she would brush it off. 3 weeks of this passed, and it's the new year now. My mom sent me off to do some errands for her at a suspicious time of the day, and I really felt like something was off. I came back home, and my parents and siblings were all in the living room telling me, sit down, we need to talk. My heart dropped. I'm sorry if this is not very detailed, because honestly, that event was so traumatizing. They said they hired an investigator to find out everything about my partner and what our relationship entailed. That was a lie, of course. My parents didn't want to admit it was my sister who went through my devices and looked through all my messages and emails and ransacked my entire room. She proudly admitted to it later. From their findings, they concluded that he's a liar, a gaslighter, a manipulator, and that I'm a victim of this relationship. They said they found out about all our dates and trips and are holding him accountable for it, that I was forced to lie and do things against my will, and that him showering me with gifts is just a way to manipulate me. A lot was said, and I just felt embarrassed and humiliated. It was 6 against 1, and I couldn't say anything to defend myself or him. I felt like I was being stripped naked as they went on and on and on about what they uncovered and whatever conclusions they drew from them. He and I are semi-long distance, so most of our talks are through texts. For them to read everything, like my vulnerable side that I only felt comfortable showing him, our intimate conversations, our arguments where we both showed some really ugly sides of us, it just felt so invasive. They claimed he's putting a wedge between me and them and that I was ruining the family peace. They wanted me to feel shame, and it worked. In the end, I was given an ultimatum, and I felt like I had no other choice but to just agree with them and leave him. I was numb. They made me block him, and my sister texted him that we're over and threatened to file a restraining order if he were to come near me. He didn't answer that text. I was numb, and I couldn't even cry anymore. I surrendered, I couldn't even fight anymore. At that point, I was just nodding and agreeing to whatever they said. In the following days, they were so nice to me because I was a good daughter and I complied with them. They were the heroes that saved me from a toxic man. But I'm on house arrest and on close watch. I had to hand over my phone when they asked so that they could make sure I never reached out to him. My soulmate was ripped away from me, and I didn't know what to do. 2 to 3 weeks later, I woke up a little from my numbness. I was angry. I was angry at my sister for betraying my trust, I was angry at my father for being so bigoted, I was angry at all of them for invading my privacy, and I was angry at the entire situation because it's not my fault they never gave me the support and comfort to even be honest with them. I made mistakes, but I blame them for it. I cried to my mom about it and told her, you know what, I don't care if you guys think he's a bad person. I would rather learn that on my own than be forced to leave him and regret it my entire life. They treat me like a effing kid. I told her I would always be angry at them for what they did. She urged me to talk to my dad again and tell him what I told her. She told me I should just proceed with marrying my partner against their wishes and accept any consequences. She told me she would be by my side. Before I talked to my dad, I sent him a letter through text. We're both non-confrontational people, so I felt like this would be a good way to express my feelings. I apologized deeply for everything. I clarified that I never meant disrespect to him or my family members. I put anger aside for this letter because anger doesn't work with a stubborn man like my dad. I try to be vulnerable. I try to tell him that all I want is their support and trust in me. My dad didn't give an answer to that letter, but he forwarded it to my sister, and she blew up on me, by text, and called me a manipulator for sending that letter. Her words were so nasty, she had never made me cry as much as she did back then. My dad came to my room afterward to talk, or rather yell at me. I had never cried so much. Whoever that was in front of me wasn't my dad. I never knew he could be so cruel. He threatened to leave my mom and tear this family apart if I chose to be with my partner. I'm broken and numb, and I've never felt so alone. I don't know what to do. /relevant comments. Commenter. Go be with your partner, or you will be miserable for the rest of your life. You are an adult. Leave. If your partner loves you, he will accept you with open arms. You can make your own family. Commenter 2. Yeah. Sorry, but why in the living F are you still living with these people and letting them control you to the extent where they force you to block him? Are you 15? No. You're a grown woman who's taken holidays with him, gone on dates, studied. Grow a spine and pull up your big girl pants. You have 2 very obvious choices here. 1, live a life of newfound freedom and healthy, supportive love and happiness. Accept that his family adores you and will support you. Marry the man you love and see just how amazing your life can be. 2. Stay miserable, controlled, abused, belittled, and constantly stuck in an impossible effort for your jerk family and their approval. Be disrespected. Keep making lousy, pathetic excuses for them and live knowing your life isn't your own, it's theirs. Lose the man you love and the happiness you felt. I don't know about you, but I choose option 1. I know this is blunt, but even the way you've written this entire post, you know your family are pretty much monsters. Be your own human. Make your own choice. I hope the next post I see is how happy you are with your partner and freedom, not another pathetic post trying to excuse your family and their monstrous behavior. Commenter 3. If this has been sitting in your drafts for 6 months, you've made a decision by now. If you let your family decide your fate, you don't deserve your soulmate, and hopefully, he has moved on. You can just be happy with whatever marriage your parents choose for you. Commenter 4. I forgot about that part, but it's a good point. Has Op even talked to her ex in 6 months? Does he know what happened? Has he moved on? And is he willing to accept her toxic, controlling family and her weak, spineless nature, even if he's still single? Personally, I think Op's ex dodged a bullet. Well, a whole family of them. Op's response. Nah, I could never do 6 months without him. I reached out to him maybe like 3 days later. But you guys are right, I don't deserve to keep him by my side. We've had that conversation many times, and I've always told him he doesn't deserve to deal with this, but he's willing to wait and fight this with me. So no, he's not my ex. We're still in contact, getting therapy, and making plans to get out of this. Thank you guys for the harsh words. I do need to hear them. Commenter 5. What ethnicities are you and your partner? That might change the perspectives in this story quite a lot. It would be good to have a semblance of context. Op's response. To avoid being very specific, Middle Eastern and East Asian. Take a wild guess which one I'm from. Update 2 months later. Hi guys, I really do apologize for the late update. I really did not expect my post to get that many replies, but I'm so grateful for all the advice you guys gave me, thank you. When I wrote that first post, I was all emotional and depressed, so reading it now, even I can sense the oh poor me tone in it. January me was probably expecting lots of sympathy or whatever, but you guys were harsh, and to be honest, I needed to hear that. You guys are completely right. While what my family did was evil and wrong, my life is in my hands, and it's my fault for not stepping up for myself and my partner sooner. I can't keep expecting things to be done for me. I wanted to make this post to clarify some things and update you about what has happened since January. It may not be the most satisfying update, but I have at least changed a lot since then. First of all, I am still in contact with my partner. I don't blame you for assuming otherwise since that post was uploaded months later, so it was pretty confusing. When my family did the whole thing of making me block him everywhere and take my devices, and basically threatened me to not talk to him, that lasted like maybe 3 days. It was in the middle of the night. I was crying hard because I missed him, but also because I'm here, alone, extremely heartbroken, just wishing someone would hold me and show some sort of real care toward me and what I'm going through, and I realized, wow, my family really doesn't give a crap about me. Like, at least check up on me? When they would, it was more of a just making sure you know your place type of checking up. So I reached out to him and told him everything. There was a lot of I told you so from him, and I really do give him a lot of credit for putting up with my BS. My entire life, I was trained like a monkey, as one of the comments said, to be obedient for literally minimal reward, and I thought if I was just gentle with my approach and still did everything they wanted from me, I would get what I wanted in the end because I earned it, right? No. And this is not a unique experience, unfortunately. This is so common with people in many cultures because parents, for some reason, believe they are entitled to make choices for their adult children. My partner was understanding and helped me finally see that the environment I'm living in is toxic and abusive. No amount of obedience and kindness is going to make them respect me. I've been getting therapy for months now, and, shocker, it really helps. I would always question what I did wrong and how I could approach them differently to get different results. I would always question why my sister would betray me like that. I would always question why my father would tell me I deserved to be hurt, and so many other questions, but I've let go of caring for any sort of answer now. I've let go of the idea that I need any approval from them. I've let go of ever having a civil conversation with them. I've let go of any expectations. I still live with them, unfortunately. I don't talk with my dad, and I don't talk with my sister. I keep things cordial with my mom, but I don't trust confiding in her anymore because, at the end of the day, she feels the need to side with her husband. Her 60-year-old man-child of a husband has been verbally abusing her for years now and throwing tantrums anytime things don't go his way. Instead of making him aware of himself, my sister and mom just choose to give him what he wants, no matter who it hurts. I still have 2 years of education with no income, and I need this degree in my career, so it wouldn't make sense to drop out temporarily. But I'm working on trying to find something on the side to depend on, and move out as soon as I can. To everyone saying he should leave me, I agree. Any man would've. Good thing he's an angel. /relevant comments. Commenter. I'm glad you've reconnected with your partner. It seems as though he is the only one out of the people you mentioned who is genuinely concerned with your health and care, compared to your family, who only seem focused on reputation, and what you being in an interracial relationship will look like to others. You still need to move away from your parents as soon as possible. I doubt you've heard the last of this. Commenter 2. I don't get why you're still living with your parents. You're 25. Why not get your own place or move in with your boyfriend? I have to imagine they're still controlling you. Commenter 3. Reading this now, many years later, this is hard to believe, and yet I totally understand. I have been there. After I graduated medical school, I moved away from my family and met someone, another resident, whom I wanted to marry. My parents did not approve. For one thing, he was not of our faith. As the wedding grew closer, they tried to have me committed. Fortunately, I had seen this happen to a friend and was able to avoid that. However, having grown up in this very close and very controlling environment, even as a 27-year-old, I found it very hard to break away from the family. I have enormous sympathy for Op. I hope that she does find the backbone, the strength, and the love to step away from her family and pursue her happiness. Op's response. Thank you for your comment, it really isn't easy. I can finally see things for what they are, but having to plan an exit while also battling the trauma feels like I'm swimming against the current. Commenter 4. Disappointed to read you reconnected with him, to be honest. I really hoped he had finally gotten free of you. Whatever your issues with your family, you never once stood up for him, and he is worth more than you. You and your backcrap family. Hopefully, he sees sense. Op's response. Ouch. I know I don't need to prove our connection to anyone, but I speak for both him and me when I say this, it really isn't easy letting go of someone you truly love and care for. I was weak and stupid for not taking a tougher stance, but I never once let go of him or even thought to give up on him, for real. Even in those 3 days when I was crying my head out, I was absolutely in denial that our story was done. We have absolutely no problems together, we know we're soulmates. I know I'm not perfect, but the toxicity is coming from outside the club. Op adds an edit to her post. I'm going to have to minimize engaging with the comments. I appreciate those who were supportive and offered great advice, but the rest just sound like my parents and sister. It's hard enough to heal from the guilt and shame my parents subjected me to. I don't need strangers calling me a moron and manipulative. As many pointed out, here or on Baru, there's a cultural element here that explains why family opinions are so deeply involved in everything, and it's so normalized. Not saying it's justifiable or right, and I've always hated a lot of these practices because they're invasive and, to be honest, made up. But it's not easy to detach from the herd, and I genuinely don't know what kind of harm would come my way if I do so recklessly. All I can do right now is heal, build my strength and financial independence, and make my move as soon as I can. I'll update you all when things are significantly better.